do you think the league refereeing crew back in New York should have at least stopped the celebration for a couple minutes to take a look as to whether Rudolph shoved off in the end zone?
Well,
Troy?
I think, I guess to answer the question is, and I'm not certain they didn't. I don't know that they did. I don't know how that exactly works. I don't know if they needed to shut everything down and then announce that they were reviewing it or not. So I don't want to get into the mechanics of what happens in New York, but yes, I think in a moment like that, I think you ultimately, much like you would review, all scoring plays, I think you have to take a look at it and make sure it was all clear. My guess is that whether they did actually review it or if they didn't review it until after the game had ended, that the results would have been the same. And I think, therefore, in my opinion, Rich, it was pass interference. But I didn't think for a second under review that it would be overturned or changed, and I think that's what makes it a bad rule. I thought it was a bad rule when it went into effect. I thought it was an overreaction at the time. And I think throughout the year, I think most people would agree that it's just been a bad rule.
Yeah, because I'm sure you were at the Fox summer symposium as we were at the NFL Network, and Al Riveron, the head of NFL refs, came through and showed you the same plays I'm sure he showed us about this is what we're going to stop the game for, this is what we're going to put a flag on the field for. And I would proffer to say that if we had at our disposal that very day, that summer day here in Southern California, Troy, that very moment of Kyle Rudolph extending his arm, I bet Riveron would have said they were going to put a flag down on the field for that very sort of thing. And then something happened between then and then the playing season, or during the playing season, to change the way that they were going to actually call this thing. That's the way I'm looking at it here.
Yeah, well, we've seen that. We've seen that in other incidences too, with other rules that have gone in. The lowering of the head with runners that went in actually a few years ago.
Right.
And then it seemed to be reemphasized last year, or whatever it was. We've seen it called a couple of times, but sometimes these rules go in. You're kind of like, well, wait a minute. How are you going to officiate that? And I agree. I think there was a lot of discussion. I'm sure there was at your seminar as well. Poor Al, he's basically the messenger, and he's getting handed to him. And, he's a league employee, and he's trying to do the best job he can within the framework of what's been handed to him. And we found out very early on that, okay, it's got to be so egregious before they even overturn it. But then the question became, well, what happens in the postseason? Are they going to call this a little closer? And there was a tendency to think that would, in fact, happen. And I thought as we moved through the season, late in the year, okay, now they're starting to maybe make some of those calls that look to be pass interference, and when those were challenged. But now you're sending mixed signals to the coaches. What exactly is or isn't pass interference, and how's that going to be officiated and ruled upon? And then we got into that. So my guess is it's a 1 year and done, and we won't be talking about it much longer.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live, or download the Rich Eisen Show app.